Hello everybody, welcome to Section A of Lesson 1-3, Identifying and Naming Basic Geometric Concepts. We're going to start off by looking at our basic terms, point, line, plane, segment, and ray. We also need to be very careful when we're discussing these items because they're very different. We have to use proper notation. Let me get my pen. Proper notation, because it can be very confusing if we use the wrong notation. It's just like in writing. You'll be required to use proper notation at all times. We will take points off on tests if you do not refer to things with the correct notation. So let's get started. A point is one of our three undefined terms in geometry. And it is... we name a point using a single letter, single uppercase letter. So for example, if we had this line here, where we have C, B, and I say A is between them, then we would say that point A lies between C and B. The letters have to be unique. I cannot have more than one point A in a diagram. So if I then add another point here, I cannot name it A. Not okay. You don't need to draw a dot if the point is an obvious intersection, but otherwise you do need a dot. So for example, if I had this situation, I don't have to put a dot there, but I could. So I could just leave it like this and call it point D, for example. So never, ever label an arrow as though it's a point. So something I would never do is this. Not okay. You have to put a dot before you write down a point. I want you now to pause and draw your own example of a point. Now, let's keep going and take a look. Lines are another one of our undefined terms. And we name a line using 2 points on that line. We write its name by drawing a two-sided arrow above it. So for example, if I've got my line here, we have to have 2 points on the line in order to name it. And again, we can't just label the arrows. I would call this AB with arrows on top. The arrows are very important. You can't leave those off. Since a line contains an infinite number of points, there can be many names for a single line. Sometimes a line in a diagram will be labeled with a single cursive lowercase letter. So I could have also given this, for example, lowercase l, and we could have called this line L. So we always have to, when we draw a line, we have to always include the arrows that show that it extends infinitely in both directions. Lines go on forever and have an infinite number of points, so we need to be very careful to show in our diagram that that's what's happening. Planes are our last of our three undefined terms, and we name a plane using 3 non-collinear, that's very important, non-collinear points that lie on that plane. So, for example, we could talk about plane ABC and plane ABD intersecting in line AB. It's very important that they're non-collinear because I can draw infinite planes through a single line. Whenever we talk about a plane, we typically draw a shape looks a little bit like a parallelogram to signify that plane. So, for example, this would be my plane. And if I label these guys A, B, and C, this would be, I could then name this plane ABC because there are 3 non-collinear points. Sometimes we can label a plane with a single cursive capital letter. And in this case, I'm going to choose that single cursive capital letter to be W. Oh, except I need to pin. Oops. Don't know what happened there, guys. So sorry. W. Oh, that is really bad. I'm so sorry. Pause. W. There we go. So I want you now to pause the video, draw an example, and we'll go from there. Now let's talk about rays. We name a ray by naming its endpoint, and then another point on the ray. That point should give us the direction of the ray. So we write its name by drawing a one-sided arrow above the two letters. The endpoint must be the first arrow and always point to the right. So for example, we would write AB and say out loud, ray AB. The order of the letters is very important. In this diagram, we see ray BA. We say it's ray BA because B is the endpoint right here. So even though it's on the right-hand side of our diagram, it's the endpoint of the ray, so we call it ray AB. And we say that point A is the direction we're going, so it's ray BA. The arrow always moves when we write it from left to right. So we could not say ray AB with an arrow pointing to the left, or pointing to the right, or to the left. I'm sorry, guys. That would not work. The only way to name this guy is ray BA. We can have opposite rays on a line. So assuming I could draw a straight line, and I have D, E, and F, I can see that ray ED is an opposite ray to ray EF. What makes a ray an opposite ray are two rays that come together to form a line. So opposite rays form a line. They have a single shared endpoint. So right here, point E is my single shared endpoint, and together they form a line. There's no overlap in them other than that single point. So let's go to the next. Let's now discuss line segments. We name a segment by naming its endpoints. We then write its name by drawing above the two letters, oh, need a pen, so sorry, two letters of the endpoints, like a line but without arrows. So for example, we would write segment AB and say out loud segment AB. The order of the letters does not matter. Segment AB is the same segment as segment BA. So for example, here, this one I've been discussing would be AB. The length of a line segment we notate differently than the name of the line segment itself. So whenever I write AB without a bar over it, we would say the measure of AB or the length of AB. Some textbooks use this notation that's M followed by AB with a bar over it. That's not nearly as common, where M stands for the measure of. Some people use absolute value bars to denote length. We are in this course just going to use no bar to talk about length. So I want you to pause and tell me how is this notation different from the line segment notation, and explain it below. Thank you all very much. That is the end of section A.